Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Holistic Missile Show. I'm your host, John Holstein, and I'm joined by Patricia Wall. For 20 years, Trish has guided people to confidence and joy in their personal and professional lives. Trish provides a unique combination of intuitive insight and practicality that works for real life. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the new year. Trish will be talking to us about how to break free of bad habits, how to stick with resolutions, and master your life with self mastery. Welcome to the show, Trish.
Thank you, John. So, bad habits are a challenging problem because people work so hard and they try to quit, and nothing seems to work. So, I figured it's a great topic because often New Year's resolutions are about, I'm going to kick this thing. This is the time I'm going to stop this bad habit. That was my thought.
Considering I work in a bar and I go to a gym, I see very, very prominently the two very crazy parts of I'm not going to do this, I'm not go to the bar, not drink, not do this, and then go to the gym. You have the 3 week period where everybody's in the gym. It's crazy. And then about
Ah.
the third week in January, clears right back out. It's lovely.
Well, and I know you go to the gym genuinely and regularly. So,
Yes.
do you stay away for that 3 weeks when it's
No.
a zoo?
No, you
Don't you?
you 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 tough it out. One way or the other, I do off time stuff. But you can just even in those period of times. Yesterday I went for the first time in the new year, and you could absolutely see more cars in the parking lot. You could absolutely see more people in the gym, even at an earlier hour.
Yeah,
So it
because
was
everybody's
very
made
good
their
January. Here we
resolution.
go. So
Because everybody's made their resolution, and they're really, really, really determined that this time it's going to work, and that's not how to make it work. So, I want to talk a little bit about why it doesn't work. Why it
okay.
doesn't work when you make up your mind to either, stop doing something, or you make up your mind that you're going to do something. So you might make up your mind, I'm going to go to the gym, or you might make up your mind, I'm going to stop smoking. Whatever it is that is the thing that you're trying to quit. Uh, the thing that's the problem is the place where you make up your mind, which is your cognitive brain, is not the place that owns the behavior. The place that owns the behavior is in your subconscious, probably in your limbic brain, probably. Uh, there are cases where it's actually in the brain stem, but most of the time it's going to be in the limbic brain. And so here's what happens. If you try to control what's going on in your limbic system with your cognitive brain, it's exactly equivalent to trying to decide not to sweat.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yeah. Because if you consider that for a moment, if you, okay, that's it. I've made up my mind. I've made up my mind. That's it. I'm certain this is the time it's going to work. I'm just never going to sweat again. Well, yeah, how's that going to go?
Oh well.
No. Okay, so it's really easy if I use that example where you go, well, that's just silly. It's just silly because you can't decide not to sweat. Like that part of your brain doesn't control whether your sweat glands are working or not. Well, the bottom line is the part of your brain where you make the decision is not controlling these behaviors either. So if you want to make a change, you have to work with the part of your brain that's actually controlling the behaviors. And that would be the limbic system. That would be the subconscious.
uh, the limbic system is our friend. It comes up often, right?
It comes up often. It is where your emotion is. It's a lot of where your behavior is. It's certainly where your passion is and where your ambition. It's also your community feelings. Feelings for the people you care about. All that kind of stuff is in the limbic brain. So it's got good stuff going on there. It can, in fact, drive us crazy when it looks like it's doing things that are contrary to what we've decided we want. Right?
I would be curious to find out. So many of the things that we do as bad habits have a social connotation also. Very, like you said, limbic, like smoking or drinking or the gym, and those things. Is that true, or is bad habits just bad habits and it has nothing to do with social or peer pressure?
Ah, okay. So I'm actually going to reword that a little bit and say, why do we actually have these bad habits? Because what you're asking me is this a social behavior, that is causing the bad habit? So I'll go, what is actually causing the bad habit, and then I'm going to tie it into the social thing so I can answer your question. So
Absolutely, yeah.
the bad habit is a coping mechanism. You put a bad habit in place to deal with something you're feeling. So one of the things that's not obvious is that most of the time, when people start smoking, it's because of emotion. So sugar is an anesthetic for emotion, and smoking raises your blood sugar. Smoking
Wow.
helps you not feel. And so if you think of, people start smoking in groups, and they start smoking, sometimes teenagers start smoking around their friends because they want to be cool. Well, what they're actually trying to do is muffle those feelings of discomfort, or muffle shyness, or muffle just being uh, self-conscious. And they're using this both as a social prop. Now we're back to that social piece you mentioned. They're using, especially teenagers, they're using this smoking as a social prop to look cool, to feel good, or to feel a little bit daring because they're quote breaking the rules. And chemically, they're using it to muffle what they feel. So now this can be really interesting because people think, oh, well, I'm addicted to the nicotine, and it's such a habit, and oral fixation, and all those stories that they have. And if you pause and say, okay, every time I want a cigarette, it's because there's something I don't want to feel. That's a really different take on it, isn't it?
That's a lot of not wanting to feel, also.
It's a lot of not wanting to feel. Well, often alcohol is about not wanting to feel. Most of the time, eating is about changing what you're feeling. Okay, and I mean, have often heard the concept of emotional eating. What I want to talk about a little bit is, what does that actually mean? What does emotional eating mean? Well, people say, oh, well, I was upset, so I ate a tub of ice cream, and that's a sort of a really straightforward link. I was upset, I compensated with food, and they say, oh, well, that's emotional eating. Well, it's actually much bigger than that. It's actually, creating associations, changing your body chemistry. And so, for example, people understand the idea of comfort food. Oh, this is familiar, reminds me of home, so it gives me that home feeling. Comfort food can be like that. Well, and that turkey makes you sleepy because it's got that big, chemical in it that makes you sleep. So you understand the idea that food changes your state, food changes your emotional state, your body chemistry changes how you feel. Okay? And so the bottom line is that you kind of have a mental menu that goes, oh, I'm feeling something I don't want to feel. I'm going to change it with this. So, for instance, people will crave fatty foods because they want comfort. So they feel uncomfortable. They want something to comfort them. They want the fatty foods. They crave crunchy foods when they have suppressed aggression. So something is frustrating them and they can't express it for whatever reason. Maybe their partner's frustrating them and they just don't want to have a fight, so they go eat something crunchy. Maybe their boss is frustrating them. Again, we're back to the sugar is an anesthetic for emotion. So without realizing it, people are basically medicating themselves with food. Now, if you think about that, fat is a comfort, crunchy food helps you with suppressed aggression, sugar's an anesthetic for emotion, and carbs are, basically they turn into sugar in your body. So that means that potato chips are actually the perfect food, if you want to deal with your emotion. Um, and no wonder people crave them.
That's very interesting. So, what else would be a perfect food in that vein? If you really you got a potato that creates that, basically what it's doing is putting all the components together.
Yeah.
Crunchy pasta, perhaps.
Well, and it's kind of think, what do you actually crave? You know, some people crave salty foods, and that's the thing. Like, oh, if I go for junk food or if I go for whatever, it's the salty stuff. And salt is for holding on.
Hmm.
Salt is for holding on. Like, I think salt is a preservative. So emotionally, when you're craving salt, it's because you don't want to let something go. So it could be you don't want to let go of a memory. You don't want to let go of an idea. It's almost like if you think of if somebody's in a relationship that's sort of, this is going to be harsh. Somebody's in a relationship that's kind of in that death spiral, and they will crave salty foods because they don't want to let go of the relationship.
It's kind of a shame that we can't use these type of this method to gauge or to map where we are. Like I crave salt food. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking? I crave crunchy foods. What's wrong? I crave sugar. What am I trying to avoid? It'd be kind of fun to have a little thing online where it's like, oh, you're craving this. This must mean that, and we could just
Ah,
go to and check that out.
okay. Well, I do have articles. If you go to ttloinc.com in the library, there are articles about food cravings and what they mean. There's also workshops people can download that have that kind of information and also how to change it because
Very good.
that's important too. And we'll do some stuff. We'll do some stuff today because you know me, I like to fix things. So we'll talk a little bit about how to do this and how to reach that part of you in your subconscious that has the bad habit, so you can work there to remove it.
Now, a really good question would be to how do you identify a bad habit? Like, because some people think smoking's great.
Well,
They're comfortable with it. It's fun. It's fine.
I think if they think it's great, then it's their business.
Yeah. Okay.
I
So
mean,
when does it actually become a bad habit then?
when somebody wants to change it,
Okay.
when somebody wants to change it. Uh, an interesting example of that would be, you have a guy who works really hard at his job and feels lots of fulfillment, or he's in overachiever mode, and the wife says you're working too hard, you're a workaholic. That could be a bad habit, right? And that could also be a way of avoiding emotion or seeking the emotion of the success. So he wants to avoid the situations he can't deal with, so he goes to work where he feels successful. Uh, that can be a bad habit.
True.
He may not identify it as a bad habit. Lots of marriages end that way, because people are unhappy with other people's behavior. It you are the only one who can decide if something has become a bad habit and it's harming your quality of life and you want to change it. So nobody else decides that for you. I mean, somebody can try and impose it. The wife can say, if you don't cut back and actually spend some time with your family, we're going to have a problem. It's up to you to decide if that matters to you or not.
True. So really and truly, the bad habit signal is self-imposed. It's a
Yes.
choice, as we
Yep.
always talk about.
Yep. It could be that you don't feel good about yourself. It could feel that you don't feel good about the effects of your behavior, right? But you're the only one ever who can decide to make a change.
Very good.
Let's talk a little bit about how to change a bad habit. So, typically, when people want to change a bad habit, what they start out by doing is trying to impose things with willpower. They try to impose going to the gym, they try to impose stopping smoking, whatever it is that they're trying to do, they try to impose it with their willpower. And that'll work briefly. And it'll work exactly the same way it works if you decide not to blink. You say, okay, 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 I'm not going to blink, I'm not going to blink, I'm not going to blink, and that'll last for a little while, and then eventually you're going to blink. And it's the same kind of thing. While you're working really hard at it and paying a lot of attention, you can force yourself to not blink. And then the moment that you take that intense attention away, you're going to go back to blinking and you're going to go back to the bad habit. Okay? And whether it's a bad habit of avoiding something like avoiding the gym or a bad habit like doing something like the smoking, either way, you're going to go back to it. And that's because the place you made the decision is not the place the behavior is coming from. The starting point is to understand it is a coping mechanism. It means there's something else you don't want. Okay? Now, we have a society that is so full of should. You should go to the gym. You should quit smoking. You should do this. You should do that. Like there's a thousand shoulds, and everybody's got their list of a thousand shoulds. And so the challenge is to comprehend that anytime you have a should in your head, you actually have an internal conflict. And an internal conflict is an argument you're having with yourself. So, for example, if you say, well, I should do insert something here, I should wear more red shirts, making things up, okay? I should wear more red shirts, and you decide you're going to wear more red shirts, and then you realize you're not wearing the red shirts. That means that part of you wants to wear them, and part of you doesn't. And the part of you that doesn't want to wear them is clearly winning. Okay, fine. What we tend to want to do is bully ourselves into submission. Oh, that's it. That's it. I've made up my mind. From now on, I'm going to wear the red shirts. Damn it. And you spend a lot of time calling yourself wrong for not wearing the red shirts because you have all sorts of reasons why you should wear them. And the irony is, most of the time, that calling yourself wrong for the should that you're not doing is actually where you want to be. That's the comfort zone. We often feel wrong, and so feeling wrong becomes the comfort zone. So you come up with a story why you should wear a red shirt, and that allows you to call yourself wrong for not wearing a red shirt, and then you feel good. You feel good feeling like crap because you're not wearing a red shirt.
And eat potato chips.
And eat potato chips and, go to the bar. Okay. So the challenge is that you have to start by realizing that the comfort zone is the should. The comfort zone is to call yourself wrong. Okay? Now, we have to go through a little path with this. You kind of have to go, okay, so what if I never wear a red shirt? Am I going to die? Somebody else going to die? Really? And the reason I want people to go through that path in their thinking is I want them to observe all of the arguments that go on in their head, because that's the story of the internal conflict. Okay? You might have an argument that says, oh, well, I really should go to the gym, but I haven't spent a lot of time with the kids, and I have this extra project to do for work, or, I haven't done my laundry, and every piece of it is a should. You should do the laundry, you should work overtime, you should spend more time with the kids, you should go to the gym. Everything's a should. And the reality is you can't meet all of those requirements of yourself. You can't. Even if you were Superman, I don't think you could do it. And if you believe you can meet all the requirements, then you'll just add some more. You'll just add some more. So, here's what happens. You create the set of shoulds in your head that allows you to have the set of arguments that's constantly calling you wrong, and that makes you feel comfortable. If you do, in fact, put in a behavior that feels good, then you create some more shoulds. If you should go to the gym and you start actually going to the gym, then you should go to the gym more often. Or you should, add in the other story. You should go more often, or you should go with your friend, or you should go earlier, or whatever it is that you need to come up with a should.
To make you feel wrong.
To make you feel wrong. So, as a starting point, I would like you to practice feeling right. Now, I got to tell you, I've been doing this for a long time. And this sounds really silly when we do it. And then people who practice it discover how incredibly difficult it is. So I want you to practice feeling right to feel the contrast with feeling wrong. So here's an example. Make a decision, pick something that you do regularly and easily, say brushing your teeth, for example. Okay? So, if you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth, you say, good job, I did that. and you eliminate every other requirement you have of yourself, and you only allow the ones that you're actually fulfilling. So this is an experiment, and it's temporary. You say, well, if I do that, I'll just keep eating potato chips, I'll be 300 pounds. Okay, we're not doing it for the rest of your life. I want you to teach your body and your subconscious the ability to feel right. So, say you drive to work in the morning, and you practice, okay, my requirement of myself for the next 3 weeks is that I drive to work in the morning. And then you do a good job. Now, this sounds really innocuous and silly, and I will tell you that I've had many, many, many people go through this experiment, and then the first report I get back is, okay, I thought that was really silly when you said it, until I tried to do it. And it was crazy. Because I would argue with myself, I would come up with a list of all the things that were wrong with it, and I could watch that happen in my head and realize, oh wow, there's like a circus of calling me wrong going on in there.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you as you were saying that is, what if you can't even find something you do right? What if you can't brush your teeth right? You won't let yourself have that moment.
So I want you to back up until there is something. Put on a sock and decide for this 3 week period or 6 week period. 6 weeks would be even stronger because then you have a behavioral modification. For this 6 week period, I will put on my socks and it will be right. I'm doing it right. It's right. Good job. And it is incredibly uncomfortable because the first thing you want to do is find a way to call yourself wrong. Okay? And observe what you feel. Observe how you react to calling yourself right. And this takes practice. You're creating new neural pathways in your brain. Because think about how many neural pathways you have for should. How long you been doing that? How many years you've been doing it? How many shoulds do you do in the course of a day? How many neural pathways do you think you have for should? And so now I'm saying I want you to build one little neural pathway for good job and build it and build it and build it to literally create the possibility that you could feel right.
Very interesting. Of course, as you're talking, I'm doing, right? I'm sitting here
Yes.
going. And
You're
I
thinking,
managed to find something wrong with my socks, by the way.
oh, see? And if you just observe yourself doing it, and you go, wow, like that's how determined I am to feel wrong that I can't even call my socks right. Like really, really, this
Yep,
is how badly I need to do this.
absolutely. I guess I'll be doing this for the next 6 weeks.
I got to tell you, 6 weeks is behavior modification. Interesting. And
Maybe
interesting.
I should try going to the bank for the next 6 weeks.
That's an in joke, you know that.
I
Uh,
know, I'm sorry.
I understood it. It's fun because you get to see in the context of something that's ridiculous and doesn't actually matter. You get to see the workings of your own head. Because when you try to do something about this, like when you're trying to do behavior modification with something that like quote matters, oh, it's my health, I need to go to the gym, or like you've got a story for why you should change your behavior, and it matters. So it's got an emotional load, and that complicates it with the story. So it's really hard to observe yourself. So if you remove all of the story and just strip it down to, I am going to choose to feel right, and do something completely silly, like the socks or the toothbrush, then you can observe without any story, without any emotional load, how difficult it is to do this.
Very interesting. One thing I'd like to say is we will be taking questions on all these bad habits we seem to have about your socks, about your chips. I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more, but if you have any interest at all, we would love to hear from you. There's a chat available situation to do on the left-hand side of your screen. Send us your questions if you like, and we'll get Trish to answer them for you.
Yeah.
So,
And
so Trish, anything else?
yeah, just so people are clear, in order to use that chat that gives us the live questions during the show, you go to teachingselfmastery.com, click the Holistic Missile tab, click the uh, post for this show, and you may be watching the show there, but some people may be watching it on YouTube or something. So you have to be on our site, where the show is playing, and then you'll see the little chat window. It's like a purple bar that says ask your question, and that's where they can enter the question and we get it live. Okay.
Ah,
Okay. So I want to keep a few minutes at the end of the show to do a specific, meditation exercise to help people with this. So,
yay! Yay! We love the
yay,
meditations at the end.
yay, yay. Uh, so, if you have questions, please get them in because we like to answer your questions. We don't want to run out of time. Um, so, back to the concept of a coping mechanism. The idea of calling yourself wrong as a coping mechanism may sound strange. Like, why would you want to sit and call yourself wrong to cope with life? And so now I'm going to go right back and imagine. Imagine, that you're 5 years old or 4 years old, depending on when you went to school, and you go from, there you were a little kid, and then suddenly they put you in school, and now you have to line up and go to the bathroom. You have to sit still when they want you to sit still. You have to be there whether you like it or not. And your life has just suddenly become pretty regimented, hey?
I got to tell you, I hated it.
Yep, I think most kids do. Yeah, and I mean, there's cool things about it, like stories, and teachers work really hard to, make it fun and stuff. It's still kind of a culture shock for most children, and it may be easier if they go from daycare to school because they're more used to it. The thing is, there's still that idea of you go from kind of playtime to suddenly people want you to do specific things at specific times. And we're trained to conform to that. I mean, it's not a terrible thing for kids. I think kids should go to school. That's a good thing. Uh, the thing is, this sudden shock. How does the child decide to cooperate with that? You don't hear often like herds of kindergarten children saying, well, "Why am I here and why are you doing this to me?" Like, why can't I just go home? Like, herds of kids don't do that. They kind of sit in the classroom and go, oh, okay. All right, I'll line up. If I got to line up to go to the bathroom, I guess I'm lining up. Okay? And that's because we're taught to conform to tribal programs. And when they have those feelings, maybe they're sitting there going, I'm so bored. Or maybe they're sitting there thinking, really what I want to do is throw a spitball at little Johnny over there. Whatever's going through their head, how do they rein in those, natural, exuberant, childish tendencies and behave? Well, they do it by calling themselves wrong.
Hmm.
I'm going to sit here and be a good kid, good boy, good girl, whatever. I'm going to obey the rules. I'm going to conform to the requirements. And they start there going, well, really, I want to get up and run around and jump on the top of the desk. Well, I better not do that. I must be wrong.
Well, and also there was probably situations, I'll use myself as an example because I'm always a good one for bad habits, where I did jump up and run around and I was called wrong. Very good example.
And that's it. And I mean, it's appropriate to train kids to be civilized. It's
Didn't work.
well,
I'm teasing.
it worked to a certain extent. It worked to a certain extent. You don't pee on the floor or anything. Basic things. Um, okay, I've never seen you, and I don't want to know if you did.
You've never witnessed it, that's all.
I've never witnessed that. Uh, so the thing is, we train kids. One of the things that they're trained to do, is not lash out at other people and, not be little savages. We train them. So it's really challenging. How do you train the kid without suppressing their emotion? How do you train a kid to behave like a civilized human being and still give them the ability to deal with what they're feeling. And I really think that's an uncommon occurrence in our culture.
I would say so, yes.
Hmm. Hmm. So what they're feeling doesn't match what people are telling them to do or telling them to be. So they feel wrong. And when they feel wrong, they make up a story to make sense of it. So little Johnny sits in his desk and feels wrong because he really wants to, kick the desk over. And he sits there and says, "Oh, I should be doing something that's not me."
And wouldn't that, I mean, not to dispute, obviously, what you're saying is absolutely right. And that would have started way before that, though. That would have started when finish a meal or have a nap or have, like eat when I say eat as opposed to when you're hungry. And
Yeah.
so it would have come out much sooner than that, even, right?
Well, and if there's parents out there going, "Oh my God, what have I done?" One of the one of the most important things you can do is let kids have a choice. Let kids have a choice because it's that feeling of not having a choice. So you could say, and this is the corny example. You could put your pajamas on and then brush your teeth because it's time for bed, or you could you could brush your teeth and then put on your pajamas, and they're still going to bed. The thing is, they have that feeling of a choice, and you say, it's bedtime, and they say, well, 5 more minutes. Kids do all this kind of stuff. Giving them a choice is important. Having strong boundaries is important. So you have to find the balance, right? And so one way to do that is that 5 more minutes, and you can't 5 more minutes till midnight, or till they're so tired that they're a monster. So you have to negotiate. Okay, here's how you earn 5 more minutes, and make them work for it. You can earn 5 more minutes by emptying the dishwasher. Then you can have 5 more minutes. So it's not, it isn't gratis. They have a choice. They get to affect the outcome. That's really powerful for kids.
And it's also building that neural pathway that you were talking about being right.
About being right, about being successful. And they may say, "Yeah, I don't want to empty the dishwasher. I'll just go to bed." That's okay too, because that's them making the choice.
Very interesting. We are coming up on a time where maybe we're going to ask a few questions of you, Trish. Would that be okay?
Sure. I love those questions.
Yeah, we do. And there's one that seems pertinent here from Brenda in Ottawa. And Brenda says, "My 10-year-old bites his nails.
Oh,
It's so bad he's making his nails short and curled. It is painful. We even tried to paste the paste that makes the nails taste bad, but nothing works.
ah,
How can you help us?"
okay. So he's 10 and he's biting his nails. This is suppressed aggression. Okay. If we go back to that example of the kid who sits in school and he'd much rather be kicking over the desk, that he'd much rather be kicking over the desk. He needs more gross motor activity. Okay. He needs more ability to make choices that are having an impact. Uh, he's got a lot of anger in there. And there's lots of things for kids to feel angry about. There's a lot of people telling him who to be and what to do. And so he needs a place to put that. I would suggest either boxing, or martial arts, that kind of thing. Lots more physical activity, and also give him as many places as you can to have choices, and also give him the ability to earn the choices. That example I said of, yes, you can stay up another 5 minutes if you empty the dishwasher. Because what you're giving him then is that ability to have an effect. He gets to choose the outcome, and he gets to understand that his actions determine the outcome. It's going to be really, really important that you follow through. So if he does empty the dishwasher, then he does get the 5 more minutes. And if he doesn't, then he goes to bed. It's teaching him his choices matter, teaching him that his actions matter, and that's going to help him not be angry because it's going to help him feel like he has an effect. His choices have an effect on his outcomes. Make sense?
Makes sense. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have a question here from Quentin in San Francisco, actually. And it's, hey there, I am a self-proclaimed stoner for the last 4 years, of course, from San Francisco. I've recently moved away from the green to stop avoiding my emotions. Can you offer any advice?
Oh, yeah, lots of things. I think it's very brave. I think you're being very brave that you're stepping away. Uh, the thing is, if you say, this is how I coped with my emotions, and now I'm just going to stop, that's actually self abusive because you haven't given yourself another way to cope with your emotions. So I'd suggest a couple of things. One is there's a free download on ttloinc.com in the shop called the True to You Unlock. And what that does is it helps you flush out, the old emotions, the stuff that's kind of stuck around for a long time. And that'll help you get rid of things that are from the past. It would help you lighten your load, if you will. So that's a free download. And then the other thing is I'd like you to think about what you would like to do to get the emotion to flow out of your body. So there are some things that are specific, like anger is most easily released from your body through your muscles. So if you're not the gym type, you can go for a walk and like literally think about flowing it out. When your foot hits the pavement, think about pushing the anger into the pavement, out of you into the pavement. Uh, Pain is expressed through your bones, so you can do bone breathing. Uh, and there's stuff on the site about bone breathing. Um, so you kind of have to think now, and I mean, some people like journaling to express emotions, some people like to paint pictures to express emotions. It doesn't have to be something like that. What it has to be is something that works for you. So it could be that you get in the shower and you yell at everybody you need to yell at. All right. If you say, well, I'm not really comfortable, I don't want to yell, that's just like negative energy. The alternative is that you're keeping it in your body. The thing to understand about emotion is the best thing you can do with it is let it flow and go. I think it's really irresponsible to vent emotion at people because it's your emotion. Okay? So I want you to think about looking for a place that you can do this that's for you. It's not about anybody else, it's for you. Where can you put it? Where can you get it out of your system? Okay? And then pause a minute and notice if that idea is uncomfortable. If the idea of getting the emotion out of your system is uncomfortable, then it's because holding the emotion that hurts you is your comfort zone. And what that means is, as a child, you were trained, and lots of kids are trained this way. Keep the emotion to yourself and numb it. Keep the emotion to yourself and numb it. Some children are taught to numb it with food or, with drugs or with fantasy, right? Or with, beating up their little sister. Like, lots of times as a child, it's unacceptable to express emotion or even to have emotion. And so you're taught to pretend you don't have it and to suppress it. Okay? So your choice is allow it out, figure out a way that's good for you to let it out, or keep it in where it sustains the pain. Holding emotion is holding pain.
And I would think that's pretty common also to
I
stay
would
in the
think so.
pain zone.
We're taught to feel wrong. Being in pain is feeling wrong.
And a great way to help yourself feel wrong. Get all
Yep.
that pain to keep you going.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Quentin. We have another one, and this is a
Yep.
classic. Every year I resolve to lose weight, but never really do. So I keep trying.
Ah,
I know I'm not alone. It's the same story every year. Why is this one so hard for so many of us?
you're right. It is so common. So we talked a fair bit about food being a way to change your body chemistry, to change your emotional state, to change what you're feeling. And so a good way to start would be to look at what is it that you want to change? What are you feeling that you don't like? So if you think, oh, I always kind of in the morning I want to have a muffin with my coffee, and but I know muffins are sweet, and maybe they're more fattening than if I had, say, oatmeal. Well, what is it that you don't like about the morning? Is it that you didn't get enough sleep? Is it that you don't like the person you're sitting across from? Is it that you don't like the thoughts in your own head? Is it that you read the news and that's so dark that it bothers you and you want the sugar to squash that? So you can look at, there are things that are happening in your eating behaviors that are specifically for changing what you feel. If you try to change the eating behavior and ignore what you're feeling, it's not going to work. It's like trying not to blink, okay? Because you're trying to treat the symptom, not the cause. You're trying to treat the symptom, not the cause. If you want to change your weight, you have to change the cause of why you're eating what you're eating so the eating behavior changes. Eating is a symptom of why you're fat. It's not the cause.
That should rock a few boats.
Yeah.
We love rocking boats, by the way.
Yep. And I have articles about this. I have, workshops that people can download about it because it's a new concept. So it's something that needs some space and time. And, we have support that you can use to help you with this.
Oh, great. I have another question from a follow-up one I was reading, and I kind of like this question a lot because it's what I want to ask. I have a follow-up question from Heather. In
Okay.
your example of putting on a sock and saying "good job," you got that right. Are you suggesting we do that for only one task, or can we do multiple tasks?
I would like you to do it for one task because the job is not the experiment is put on the socks and say good job. The important part is to observe what's going on in your own head. If you do multiple tasks, you're going to get involved in stories, and the stories will confuse the issue. I want it to be something that completely doesn't matter and that's completely innocuous.
So
Okay?
it's not an overachiever event. It's more creating the pathway to I. This is my right feeling.
Well, and observing what's going on in your own head. So the minute you start expanding it and say, well, I'll do it with the coffee and I'll do it with the going to work on time, or, there's too many places that stories will get involved with that.
And we also have a tendency to want to overachieve. Oh, I'll do
Yes,
that
we
for
do.
everything, and it'll be fine.
And then I'll be wrong because I
And
won't
then
be
I'll
able
be
to
wrong because I
succeed.
can't do
It'll be
it.
perfect. It'll be perfect. Right?
Solve that problem perfectly.
Yes. Exactly, exactly.
Okay, let's go to another
So,
question if you're good for it.
one more question,
We,
and then we'll
oh,
go to the meditation.
okay, sounds great. I have a weird question. This person says it's for my cat.
Ah,
My cat licks one spot until it's raw. Any ideas?
oh yeah, lots of stuff. So I'm going to talk in a generality, and then I'm going to talk specifically about this cat. Um, Again, it's a coping mechanism. It's a habit. The cat is literally, the cat's hurting themselves, and it's compulsive, and that's to avoid, again, for the cat, it's to avoid feeling. Okay? So it's, you know that old story where they say, if you have a headache, step on your toe, because, then your toe will hurt and your headache won't bother you? That's what the cat's doing. All right. And I'm making an assumption that you've checked, the vet's made sure it's not parasites and all those sorts of things. And this has been an ongoing problem that hasn't been able to be solved. Uh, this is a behavioral problem now. Um, if you check the site, we've had an animal communicator on the show. It was actually on the radio show. And so if you want specifics about what your cat is dealing with, you can contact her. Her contact information is there. Uh, the thing is, what this is there's something the cat doesn't want to feel. And the fun part with cats and dogs who love their owners is that sometimes they'll do it because it's something you don't want to feel.
I was just going to ask that.
Okay? Lots of times your pet will take this on for you. They will take it on for you. Okay? Uh, this specific cat, what it feels like to me is you've got a relationship that's giving you guilt. It's almost like when the phone rings, when this person phones you, you automatically go into guilt. And that's what the cat's reacting to, is that feeling of guilt that you have. I would suggest that you start with the free unlock that you can download and do the unlock working on releasing that guilt, which you can, once you understand how the unlock works, once you've done it a few times, you can make sure that you call out the person who inspires the guilt for you, and it may be more than one. I think there's one in particular that's triggering this. However, uh, if you let that unlock help you, it'll help you change that dynamic, and that'll help your cat. Okay? So, uh, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to mention a couple of things. So, one is uh, there are meditations you can download. One of them is called Campfire. You can find it on the Living Your Light CD download. Uh, and the campfire allows you to go into your subconscious and call out the part of yourself that has the bad habit. Call out the part of you that bites your nails. Call out the part of you that, doesn't want to go to the gym. And you can actually ask them, tell me what's going on. What is it you don't want to feel? And it may take a couple of times, because I think the first few times you do a new meditation, it's always sort of getting used to it. You can get this information because it's inside you. Okay? Uh, so I would recommend that you try that out, have some fun with it. You can discover all sorts of things you didn't know, because your subconscious can hide all kinds of things from you, as something that's basically a little bit simpler than starting with Campfire. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at breaking the associations that go with the habit. Okay? So I want you to picture, those snow globes that you shake them? There's a little village and you shake it and it looks like there's snow falling. So they're usually glass and they have liquid inside them. I want you to picture one of those snow globes, and I want you to imagine inside the snow globe is the thing that you feel when you think of this habit. So if you think, if you picture the gym and you feel dread, then I want you to put the image of the gym inside the snow globe, because that's the thing that triggers the dread. Or if you picture a bag of chips and that makes you feel guilt. So whatever this habit is that you're trying to either create or break, there is already an emotion attached to that should. It could be guilt. It could be reluctance. It could be dread. It could be frustration because you've been trying so hard and it doesn't work. So I want you to picture the instrument of the habit, whether it's the gym or the chips or uh, the image of biting your fingernails. Picture that inside the snow globe. And I want you to imagine that shooting out from this snow globe are like lines of emotion. So it's like now you have the snow globe out here, picture it outside you like that, and there's a line. So say inside the snow globe is the gym, and it's very frustrating, and the frustration is like a laser line attaching that to you. Or picture the bag of chips, and the bag of chips is like a compulsion, and the compulsion is like a laser line attaching that snow globe to you. Okay? Picture the green that you're quitting, the pot that you're quitting. Put that inside the snow globe, and what are the feelings you have? And think of those feelings being laser lines attaching that to you. And just pause a moment and just sit with that and feel like, okay, I have this thing, whatever it is, and it's connected to me with all of the shoulds. The shoulds form lines, the emotions form lines. It's like it's anchored inside you. Okay? And then I want you to imagine that you can put gloves of light on your hands, and you can rub your hands all over that ball and melt away those lines. You can melt away the frustration, you can melt away the should, and then you can have that snow globe away from you, and all of those lines can be melted. Okay? And then tomorrow you can go back and check and see, pick up that snow globe again and check. Maybe the lines, maybe you missed some. Maybe there were some that were hidden by others, or maybe they just came back, and melt them away again. Melt them away again. If you feel like, oh, this is the same one I melted yesterday, that means that there's some emotion that you didn't notice. So I say, oh, I melted away the frustration, and it seems to me like the frustration's back. Well, that means that the frustration was mixed with, say, anger or resentment, and that one has to be melted. It's like they're knotted together, so you have to get both of them to melt it away. So allow yourself to kind of take the time to really go, oh, okay, there's frustration there. That's also like, I hate that place. I hate that gym. It could be something like that. So allow yourself to really get in there and just melt all of those lines. And what you want to do is you want to get it so that whatever is in that snow globe is without emotion. So it's completely neutral. And what that does is it allows you to truly make a decision, because the thing that holds all the shoulds, all the habit, all those behaviors is the limbic system, and that's all about emotion. Now, fun and challenging, when you're melting away all those lines of emotion, you want to melt away the, quote, good ones, unquote, too. So if you think, well, I'm so frustrated about the gym, but when I get there, I actually feel good. I actually want you to melt away all of it. And the reason I want you to do that is because they get tangled up. So the feel good gets tangled up with the frustration, and you can't have one without the other. And so you want to melt away all of these things, so this becomes completely neutral. And when it's neutral, it's like it doesn't have a hold on you. You can be objective. Then you can use a decision. Then you can say, well, okay, why aren't I doing this? Maybe there's no room for it in your life, and you could never sit and actually figure that out because you were so busy calling yourself wrong. Maybe the solution is somewhere else besides beating yourself up about it. Maybe it isn't about getting yourself to stop eating chips. Maybe it's like, I can have a small bowl of chips in the night. If I don't eat the whole bag, then I don't hate myself. And so maybe it's about getting rid of the should and coming up with a practical solution. And you're smarter than you think. If you get the emotion out of the way, you can find a solution that works. So melt away all those lines, and then pause a moment. Think about letting that snow globe kind of go away, because now you're going to have a new relationship. Just kind of think about letting it go. And then let yourself kind of have a shower of light that washes down over you and through you to kind of clean up that anything that might be left over. Maybe there's some stuck spots inside you from those emotion lines. Let that all wash away. It's kind of giving yourself an energy wash on the inside and the outside. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, kind of fun. So there's a couple of things. One is, when you tackle something like this, when you say, okay, I'm going to stop pretending this is about the behavior and deal with the real the real root causes, which are all of these coping mechanisms and emotions, you're going to find things you don't want to see. And that's where the unlock can really help. So you can download that free unlock and it will help you release that stuff, help you get to that neutral place. All right? You might realize that you've been kind of kidding yourself. I don't actually want to go to the gym. Like if I take away all the should, I don't want to go to the gym. And so then you can go, you know what? It doesn't have to be the gym. Maybe I want to go swimming. Maybe I want to take a dance class. Because really, isn't it about getting some physical activity? You know, it if you allow yourself to get rid of the should, new possibilities appear. How does that feel?
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, I was following along. The snow globe, is that new?
No, John, that's old. Sorry.
Oh, I love that. That was fun. How do I miss these things?
I know.
But one thing that was really interesting about it was when you went back and got all the emotion, because I
Yeah,
really did have to set it all back up and went bang. Oh, look at all that.
yeah,
So that was very, very interesting. And also the finding the alternative to the gym.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
maybe you just do not want to go. And I know many, many people that a gym is just not for them.
yeah.
And
I
dance
like
would be good,
dancing.
and swimming. Yeah, exactly. Or just walking.
Yeah.
There's many, many simple ways to do that. And that applies to any of the things we were talking tonight.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's a really interesting challenge to say, okay, so I've pretended for years I want to go to the gym, and I do it for 3 weeks in January. So what if you stop pretending? I do not want to do that, so I'm not gonna. Now what am I gonna do instead?
I gotta say, I do not want you curing all these people. If all those people stay in my gym, I'm going to kill you. I'll be coming looking for you. You're dead.
I gotta tell you, I'll be proud.
I'll be proud of you too. I am always proud of you. But we'll have a talk.
Yes, I understand.
Oh
It
yeah,
cause
that'd be.
serious problems. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what we do? We just set up a gym in your basement. And,
Well, the thought that crossed my mind is there are entire business models for gyms that are that are going to be broken if that happens.
absolutely. Just a numbers thing because they base their numbers on how many people are not going to come back after
that
that 3 week
that's right.
period,
That's right.
and then they act accordingly.
Yeah, they sell way more memberships than can fit, right? And yeah,
Absolutely.
so
Sounds like airlines too.
just break everything, right?
Yep. 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 That's very interesting. I really, really enjoyed this. This was very nice.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. As always, I'm not doing anything new. We are coming kind of close to the end of our evening.
I
I
timed it
would.
well.
You did a perfect job.
Oh,
Good
see,
job,
thank you,
Trish.
John. You too.
You
We
do
have
a
fun.
wonderful job.
We have
Do you have
fun.
any last minute words that you'd like to share with us?
Absolutely, absolutely. When it comes to bad habits, it's important because what you're doing. The starting place is to say, "I'm doing something bad," or "I'm not doing the thing that's right." Okay, uh, and it's to recognize that that's the starting point. It isn't about the behavior that you want to stop or start. The comfort zone is that you get to call yourself wrong. And so the best thing you can do to make this change is to tell the truth that you actually want to call yourself wrong, because then you have a choice to change it. The hardest thing about making change in your life is that people's aim is off. Their aim is off. They say, "Oh, here's the thing I want to change. I want to change it so that I'm going to the gym." And that's actually not the source. It's actually not the source. The source is in the emotion. The source is in the subconscious. Okay? And it can be tricky to find that because you've told yourself all of these stories that create your shoulds and create calling yourself wrong. And so pulling that back, it requires taking that step back. Step back and say, okay, what I really want here is to call myself wrong. So what if I just stop? What if I just stop? If I've tried for 5 years to go to the gym and I go for 3 weeks every year, then I'm going to stop pretending I'm going. Stop it. Just stop. and it's the desire to call yourself wrong that creates that situation. So if you focus on letting that go, then it becomes so much easier to change your behavior. That's my final word.
Lovely words here. I would like to invite everyone to. I would like to invite everyone to join us next month, the month of February. We have a show on Thursday, February 4th, and if you look at the website, you'll see what the topic is.
Well, it'll be
Otherwise,
a
I would like to thank.
relationship. It's
It will
got to
be
be
relationships.
it's got to
Oh,
be because
February.
Valentine's Day. It's
I
got
get
to
it.
be.
Yes, yes, it
Yeah,
has to
it
be.
has to be.
So, folks, we're doing relationships, and please join us. I would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I would like to thank Trish for her insight. Thank you very much, Trish.
Oh, thank you, John, and thank you for taking care of the questions. I love that
Always
part.
a pleasure. Good night, everybody, and hope to see you next month. Good
Good
night,
night.
Trish.
Bye bye.
Bye now.